that I'm going to do is to tell you what happens when we eat something. So, when we eat something that is blood spiking in nature, like for example, this little piece of bread here. Now, bread is a carbohydrate, and carbohydrates are essentially long chains of sugar molecules that are put together. And our digestive process breaks them down, takes those sugar molecules, and makes them into energy that fuels our body. And so when we're having, this little piece of bread here, that is very much similar to what would happen when we're eating sugar, when we're eating honey. I'm not demonizing the bread. Bread is delicious, but I'm just saying that from a cellular process, from a chemical process, because carbohydrates are made out of sugar, we are going to be spiking our blood sugar or creating a blood sugar response from eating this piece of bread, especially if this little piece of bread has nothing on it. I'll explain a little bit more about what you can put on the piece of bread to make sure that you're not spiking your blood sugar. So um, let's just say, you and I have plans early one Saturday morning, and you look at the time and you're like, shoot, Anya's going to pick me up really soon. I got to eat something fast. So I take a piece of bread. You take the piece of bread and you stick it in your mouth and you run out the door. What happens is that this bread gets broken down by our enzymes that start in our mouth. Actually, the whole process of breakdown for carbohydrates starts in our mouth, and we begin to digest this piece of bread. What happens is, because bread is primarily made out of sugar, it increases our blood sugar. That's natural. Anything that we eat would have an increase in our blood sugar. But the rate at which something like this will spike our blood sugar is pretty high. So, what happens is it triggers our pancreas to release a hormone called insulin. And insulin's primary goal is to lower the quantity of sugar in our blood. Our blood, our bodies in general, always work within ranges. It wants a range to be, within this digit and this digit. And if it goes beyond those digits, beyond that range, then it starts to adjust. And one of the things that it does is call on pancreas, call on insulin to reduce that blood sugar. So it does that by either shuttling the liver or shuttling glucose towards the liver or towards storage, towards the tissues for fuel or for storage. So if it's going to the liver, it's going to be for storage. If it's going to the tissues, it's to fuel whatever exercise, whatever thing that we're doing, right? But if there is too much insulin release, because let's just say the sheer quantity of the sugar level is so high in our blood, there's too much insulin that releases, then what happens is there's way too much sugar that gets removed from the bloodstream. And we experience what we call a crash, or what we might see as a crash. We feel, the immediate high of having eaten something. And then maybe over the course of half an hour, 20, even 20 minutes, we might start feeling tired. We might start feeling a crash. And that's because we've had a hypoglycemic um, event. What happens at that point is our adrenals, those are our stress hormone producing factories. They have to work really, really hard to restore equilibrium. And that is a really hard thing for our adrenals to have to do in this day and age, because our adrenals are busy enough. We are living in a really, really busy, fast paced, stressful society. And now we're tapping on our adrenals to have them help with our blood sugar balance. So sometimes these guys, our adrenals, they get too taxed, they get too tired, and they're unable to really respond to this request to help bring up the blood sugar levels in our blood, or the sugar levels in our blood, I should say. So that's when we start getting cravings for sugar and refined carbohydrates, because our body knows that this is a surefire way, a very quick way to raise our blood sugar fast. And that you can imagine at this point that this whole cascade pretty much starts again. When you have the craving for the sugar or the craving for the carbohydrate, and you eat something that is carbohydrate or sugar to try and get you out of that lull or that crash, you're going to raise your blood sugar again, and then the whole thing starts.